Look at how beautiful that is. Isn't that gorgeous? And little Mario, I was looking for a trail up here. I'm in North Carolina, and I couldn't find the trail, so I'm like, oh, you know what? We'll just walk the road. But isn't that fantastic? I just got out, and I don't know if you can see all of this. That's kudzu. This is all kudzu, and it envelops everything. It's a noxious vine weed, but it actually has medicinal purposes. And as I get out of the car, I just noticed. I don't know if you can see this. All these little orange things here. That's jewelweed, and jewelweed is actually a remedy for poison ivy. So wherever you find jewelweed, you'll probably find poison ivy. And there's a lot of jewelweed here. Oh, I can't believe there's actually a car coming up here. This is crazy. Well, there you go. It just kind of proves my point. No matter where you go, you can't get away from people. But look at these vines. Isn't that something? All these vines and these trees. Well, anyway, I decided to pull out the camera because on Thursday, and this is kind of interesting. I haven't talked about like sustainable living, country living, off grid for a long time. And you know that I have volumes and volumes and volumes of information in this brain bank here. And I guess just because my life has been so focused on my ministry that I've gotten really away from sharing all the knowledge and skills and things that I have really been blessed to know. And I kind of feel bad that I haven't really utilized and shared more. But you know, I'm looking at settling, and I think as I get more settled here in North Carolina, hopefully that's going to change, and I'll be able to share some of that skill and some of that knowledge. And I'm not just talking about YouTube, but in classes and teaching. They have a folk art school here that does a lot of blacksmithing and weaving. I would love to become part of the folk art school. I'm sure they would probably look at my resume and say, yeah, there's probably something I could teach. But with that said, I'm going to be interviewed by a UK channel, a channel in the UK that is very interested in my background and the things that I know. So I don't know when it's going to be posted, but they're going to be interviewing me. We're going to do 5-minute segments. It's going to take about an hour and a half. How they found me, I don't know, but I really do believe that people are still watching the channel and hopefully gleaning some of that valuable information when I lived off the grid and even when I continued to live a very self-sustainable lifestyle after my divorce. And so where am I now with all of this? Well, I'm trying to get back to my roots. Since wherever I go, I can definitely minister and spread the good news. But as I'm kind of trying to settle here in North Carolina, I want to kind of reestablish a sustainable lifestyle. So I do have one big announcement of where I'm living and what I was blessed to purchase. It's a whole God story. Maybe I won't share it in this. Okay, maybe I'll just mention it. What it looked like for me trying to reestablish a sustainable lifestyle was what kind of home, where does a person live? And I really, RVs for me is not a sustainable way. I think RV living is fine, but I think if you really want to settle, having a permanent home is really important where you can have more permanence. And, RVs, structurally, they're just not made the best. So I started looking at tiny homes. Tiny homes have exploded. So wherever you go now on the internet and on YouTube, there are people who are purchasing tiny homes, but they do cost a pretty penny. The cost of a tiny home from even 5 years ago, because they weren't popular, have really like tripled. And they're almost more than a regular conventional house, which is a crime. But I found a tiny home. Well, I should say the Lord found me a tiny home. And so maybe I'll have like a big announcement video on my new tiny house and how it came to be, and how my life is now changing because I do have something of permanence, and it is a tiny home. And I don't have much. Actually, the tiny home came completely furnished, right down to the silverware. But now I'm trying to take my tiny home and make it more sustainable. And in the future, I'm looking for land, and that's going to be the next endeavor. And it's exactly what I preach to all of you. You know, you need to find land that water, that has soil that can feed you, that you can till, you need a garden spot, you need good neighbors, you need to be in an area where there's resources, where you can hunt and fish, where they have a good growing season, where the population is not exploding and people are coming out of the city. And like what happened with Idaho. Bonners Ferry has been overtaken by a lot of people now coming into that area, and it's not the same anymore. And it just happens. There's a lot of areas that used to be redoubt areas that are not redoubt areas anymore. And so people kind of have to reevaluate where to find land, and land is so expensive. North Carolina here, I don't think I can touch even an acre. And I really believe you need at least a minimum of 5 acres, at least a minimum. If you get 5 acres that is abutted and adjoined to land like this, state land, national forest, then you've got it made. So then, you could even do even less than 5 acres, because then you use the whole backdrop of the state land, right? So that's always something to consider. But if you are buying property that has neighbors, I think a little bit more land, even more than 5 acres, 8 to 10, because 5's not a lot. But I also would advise people not buying 50 and 60 and 70 and 80. The taxes become high, and it's a lot of land. You don't need all that land. So anyway, but I'm in the same boat as a lot of people now. I'm starting over, and the Lord is, I'm beginning to see that He is telling me, okay, Starry, things are changing. I'm turning the page to a new life, and it is a new life. It is going to be a more settled life, a more structured life. I can still do my ministry, but He's given me the opportunity now to step into something that I really feel is going to be the very last page before He comes back. And I'm kind of apprehensive. I'm kind of a little bit, I don't know if I'm scared, but it's interesting how it's happening. So, but I will share a little bit more. But yeah, that's kind of an update right now here in the mountains of North Carolina. And we'll have an unveiling of the tiny house hopefully soon. All right. And hopefully I'll start sharing with you the things that I'm going to do with the tiny house that will make it more sustainable, that maybe you should be doing in your home right now. It's really going to be, I think, an exciting time. All right. God bless you guys.